Welcome to the Not Superheroes Gets Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant billions. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be present for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I'm Sean Laurie. And today, guys, I am super excited because I got my boy from the Bay Area, as they like to say, or I don't know, NorCal, whatever way he calls it, Durrell, man. I'm excited to have you, bro. Man, it's been a minute, and I did say too, like man, when I start having folks, I wanted to make sure you was the first one, the first one to come on, man. So how you been?
Hey, I'm good, my man. I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. You sure did say it. You kept your words. You've always been a man of your words. So glad to be here, man. Glad to be the first guest.
Hey man, yeah man, I'm excited, man, for this topic, right? This topic is I feel like it is something that I mean, this is something I can't relate to necessarily, so that's why I'm glad to be able to have you here to be to kind of share light on that. And for those that don't know, like, okay, what are you talking about? Um, Today we're going to be speaking on more so on when it comes to the custody, right? Custody when basically when you're not with your spouse, when you're not with your lady, and how that dynamic is. But I know for you, yours is a little more unique because normally there's like a custody battle, right? A lot of times what happens is like, the mother of the child or shoot, or us, we're tripping at times, right? We're tripping and we're not doing what we're supposed to do, right? And then we're trying to see our kids and it becomes just a big mess, right? A big, just terrible mess, to be honest. And so um for you, man, like how did you I guess I well first let people know, I guess, about your household, your dynamic, what that looks like.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I got me a wonderful 10-year-old son. My pride and joy, my angel right there. So basically him and his mom, we split up. We're not together. It's been like that for a little while now, and which is cool. I said I got a lot of love and respect for her still. Good woman.
Yeah.
Just things didn't work out, and that does happen. But my household, I get my son, and we have an alternating schedule. It is unique. It's a unique schedule. It does cause some type of problem sometimes. Um, but once again, that's on the parents to be on top of the job, communicate, and be able to make sure the child understands and knows they are loved and they are still your guys' priority. So yeah, for me, we have a dynamic where he splits homes throughout the week, and he's also in a very different situation as well, where we don't live too far apart. So it
Oh,
makes it a lot
really?
easier for him as well. He stays in the same school, keeps the same friends. So yeah, he's
Okay.
really right where most kids would not be when they have split homes.
Really? So okay, so like you said, it didn't work out with you and your lady. So you guys didn't. So you guys didn't go to court or anything like that, or your ex lady, not your lady. So your ex lady. But you guys didn't have to go to court or anything like that.
Nah. Actually, we were very, I mean, I could say adult about the situation. We talked,
Mm.
we figured out what would be best for our child and how to make it work while we both get to see him, spend time with him. And we came up with a schedule. And now, normally, what you can do if this were to be in another situation, you can actually write it down. You guys can write it down. You guys can technically send each other an email on it so that it is written documentation. Most courts that would hold up if anything were to go wild and left on it, uh, that can hold up for a temporary notion or anything like that that you might need to do. um, but like
Really?
I said, for us, we didn't have to go through that. We have a really, yeah, absolutely. But we have a really good understanding, and our
Mm.
schedule, like I said, is it's unique. We have a 2 on 2 off and weekend schedule, so it can be, like I said, taxing a little bit at times, but we've been doing it for years. Even when before we really split up, we kind of had the idea this is how we were going to operate it, um, and it's worked. It still works. There's also time where we give so much love and respect to our son that he's like, hey, I want to spend an extra day at dad's house. She's cool with that. If he wants to spend an
Mm.
extra day at mom's house, I'm cool with that. Uh, we try to give him that option. Maybe he wants to do something over there with the other parent, or maybe he's enjoying something, whatever the case may be. If she wants to take an extra day because she wants to go, take a trip somewhere, I'm all right with that. Go ahead. As long as you're spending time with our son, and as long as I'm spending time with our son, we are absolutely fine with the person getting extra time, extra day. or whatever the case may be.
That's dope, man. So, cause I want to go back to what you said too, cause it reminds me of like what basically for those that starting a business at times you could do I think it's called like a poor man's trademark where you write a letter to yourself with the date, you mail it to yourself, right? And that's like your trademark until you can officially legalize it. But that's kind of what you said with, so if you have documentation like an email, text, like, hey, this is what we agreed upon, that's gonna, because I know in California, unfortunately, at least from what I know from the people I know, um, a lot of times the dads kind of get screwed over, right? And so, but you're saying that if you're able to have those documentations, it should be able to hold up in court, at least for a little bit, right?
Yeah, until you guys actually go in front of a judge. So we'll just say, for example, that we were going to go week to week, right? We said,
Okay.
hey, I want to go week to week. We sat down, we talked about it. I sent an email to her, hey, this was what we agreed upon. Do you agree? And if she responds back through her email saying, yes, I do agree, great. It's even easier if you guys actually see each other, write it down on paper, and actually sign it, even better
Mm,
because you have the hard documentation for it. Once again, that only lasts for so long, and then again, I don't even know if that's still the law. It was the law, and it was passed over to be able to be done that way before. But once again, it's like that with almost anything. Uh, this is what we had agreed upon at the time, and people can change their mind on
yeah.
agreements. Contracts happen, things like that do happen, where you get disputes, disagreements, and you go back, and this is when you go in front of a judge, and judgment is placed upon it. So in this case, like I said, I didn't have to do that, and I'm very thankful, very blessed that I didn't have to do it. Like I said, she gets it, I get it. Even for like the whole summer, he didn't want to go over there. He wanted to be with me the whole summer, so I literally had him for 2.5 months for the
Oh,
summer, and we had a ball though. We traveled and did things that we normally wouldn't do during the school year, so it was awesome.
that's dope, man. That's dope. So then, I guess then, so for you guys, because like you said, it was basically, or you guys was mature enough, I'm sorry, you guys were mature enough to be able to say, hey, you know what, let's just do what's best for our child, let's come up with a schedule. So for someone that is like, man, I want something like that, right? Like, okay, you know, me and my lady's not working out, whatever the case is, did you guys have a clean breakup? Like, how did you guys get to that place to be so mature to be like, you know what, hey, let's just do, because it sounds like you guys were more so focused on let's do what's best for our child. And unfortunately, when in those situations, right, like a lot of times mothers do it, but fathers do it too, right, where they might try to use the child to get their way, right, almost in a hostage situation, right? So how did you guys get to that place, I guess, like, or what, or was it not always like that? Was it rough at first? Like, how did you guys just get to a place where you're at now?
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good question, and again, somewhat of a unique situation here. She has an older son, so my son has an older brother. He's 5 years older than him. She actually went through the courts for a situation with that, and
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, she got what she deserved in that situation, which is majority custody. She's a great mom, so there was no reason for her not to. And I think she understood from me being around as long as I was with that situation that I'm a good dude. I'm gonna take care of my son. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no reason to worry about that. And she didn't want to go back to the courts. I can't say I blame her. I don't want to go to court. So we sat down and said, hey, let's not worry about what I want. Let's not worry about what you want. Let's worry about what our child needs. And that's really
Mm,
what it comes down to when you're being a parent. But we raised the oldest together for the most part, and we went ahead and raised my son together, or I should say our son. But right now she's not here, so I can definitely say my son. But uh, yeah, and also keep in mind too, anybody that wants a situation like this, and if they have not been to court, and even if they are going to be going to court, don't use mine. It's got to be ours, our son, our child, our kids, because that's what the court is looking at. Are you being a person that's about just yourself, or are you actually about the child? And when you're about the child, it's ours because you're considering both parents involved in the situation. So uh, that's what you always want to do. And even when you're talking to the other parent, don't say my, because that's their child too. And that's easily how you could trigger somebody to thinking you're trying to take over by trying to take onus and ownership of things. So don't do that if you can avoid it.
no, that's good, man. That's good information. So, like you said, like you had your son for the whole summer, which is dope. How does that work though, as far as like do you guys split it as far as, hey, you know what, he's going to be on my insurance, or you have him for dental, I have him for medical. Hey, you get to claim him for taxes this year. I'll claim him for tax. Like, how does that? Or because too, that's a whole nother thing too, right? Where I've seen that where it can get messy because,
Yeah,
oh no, I'm going to be claiming them for taxes. No, you know what I mean. So how do you guys go about that?
that's a tougher one. That one still has its balances of challenging, moments, but it's not horrible. As far as the insurance goes, me being a man, me being capable, I took that upon myself. There was no ifs, ands, or buts, no questions asked about it. Hey, I got the job. I got the job with the good benefits as well. Take it out my paycheck. It's cool. I'll make sure he's good. Make sure he's covered. We're good. Um, that's just how I get down. That's just what it was going to be, regardless. There
Yeah,
was no questioning that. Now, if I lost my job, then she'd cover the slack on that. But once I got something else back, I'm putting them back on. Not a problem. Um, the taxes, though, boy, I'm gonna say it like this: people act real funny when it comes to money. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
taxes. It's our original agreement was odd years her, even years me. So, if
Okay.
he turns 1 years old that year in September, she can claim taxes, and the next year I would claim, and then her year, and then problem with that is because everybody feels like they carry more weight than they do sometimes. So this is
Yeah.
where it can get ugly. Um, hey, I had them for a little more than half the year. I should be the one covering, claiming them on taxes this year. You claimed them last year, but that's fine. I had them for 9 months out of the 12. I should be claiming them. I mean, that's the point of claiming. But for me, once again, don't get me wrong. I want my money for the taxes. I really do. I love my money for taxes. I'm paying it. I want it. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm not into it for that. I'm blessed. My son's gonna be taken care of regardless. So at the end of the day, if it really means that much to you on the off year that you're supposed to be claiming, that I feel like I got a gripe, I'm gonna let you have it. It's cool. But when it's my year, don't come knocking on my door. But I will say that, and she can, if she sees this, which I hope she does. If she doesn't, then it's all good too. But I did 2 different times on my claims, and he's only 10, so I've had five times a claim. 2 out of those 5, I did give her either half or all of the money, for whatever
Mm,
reason it might have been, whether it was to help her with something, to relocate because she had to relocate at one point in time before we moved together, um, or she had a situation where she had to pay for something, car or a family situation. So once again, when it comes to the money, if you peoples, you my peoples, I love you, I care about you. I'm gonna make sure I got, especially for something like that. I'm gonna do my best to help out. In this case, she got it, and mainly because she's the mother of my son. So at the end of the day, it wasn't a problem there. But taxes can definitely become a problem. That one's going to be a battle between individuals and whatever way the wind blows that day. And it's not an easy topic to even bring up. Highly
yeah.
suggested to bring it up because once taxes float around, it becomes a race to who files first to be able to get that child, and that's not
Mm,
fun. It's not cool, and
yeah.
it can be ugly. I would not suggest that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess in an ideal situation, but obviously it's different. In this scenario, in your scenario, I guess the ideal situation, like, hey, we'll split the money regardless, right? You get half, you get half. But like you said, when it comes to money, it might not always be that easy to be like, hey, yeah, I'll split it. You get this, you get this. So I definitely understand that. So then when it comes to like big decisions, I know you're right now your son's 10, but when it comes to big decisions, is it one of those things where um like like for example, I remember for me, right, growing up, and when I would go visit my dad, it was different over there than it was at being with my mom, who I was with majority of the time, right? Um, but what is it one of those things where certain decisions? So I don't know. Let's say since it's joint custody, it's a little different, I guess. But let's say your son wanted his ears pierced, and you're like, no, I don't want you to get your ears pierced right now. But he got it anyways with mom. Like, are those like conversations or decisions being made together, or is it one of those things where sometimes is something that you wasn't even expecting to happen, and it kind of took place.
Um, that one, that's another tough one, but at the same time, that's a unique situation as well. Um, I normally talk to her, let her know, even if you request something, I will shoot it to her. Like, hey, you know, unless it's something, if it's something that's big, changing, hey, this is what he wants to do, or this is something I want to do. I just need to know if this is something you're okay with. If you're not okay with it, typically she's okay with it. Um, she's usually okay with the fact that I even included her. That's the thing that she wants the most, care about the most. The decision portioning itself, hey, you're gonna do what you're gonna do it. But if he were to get his ears pierced or wanted to get his ears pierced, she would definitely run that by me. Um, I would like to think, hey, I'm not her, so I can't guarantee it, but I'd like to think she definitely would run that by me. Like he has his hair grown out, a bit, and clearly as parents, we got to do a better job in keeping our kid nice and neat and groomed up at all times. But he started getting a little bit of knots back there because he wasn't combing his hair enough. So I shot her a message, said, hey, I'm about to cut his hair. Said, I can either do it or you can go take it to get it done, whatever you want to do. She's like, I'll take it to get it done. Cool, no problem. You know, but that's the kind of situation where it's being the parent, being the man in his life as well, being the dad that I feel he should have, which is a leader, a person that's going to make a decision, stand on his decision, but at the same time communicate his decision, to be an adult about it, be upstanding about it. That's what I wanted for him to see, and that's why I did it in that manner. Like, hey, this is the situation. This is how we're going to fix this situation. Do you want to be the person to handle the next step, or do you want me to handle the next step? And at that point, it's it goes either way. But for me, it goes usually the way I hope for it to go. But I also know this individual, which hopefully most people that are in a joint custody situation at least somewhat know their ex partner, and know how to communicate with them. That's the big deal. I mean, you may not be able to communication on an intimate level, but you should be able to talk to them as a person, respectfully, especially if you're trying to get something, because you'll never get anything you want in life if you don't say things respectfully to people for the most part. So,
That's
but yeah,
true.
to
No,
answer
no.
your question, it can be tough.
Yeah, no, no, that's definitely like I said. I was just asking just because yeah, that definitely seemed like that could be uh, a difficult situation, or even when it comes right now. I'm sure your son's not thinking about that, but even when it comes to maybe dating, right, or it comes to schoolwork or whatever the case is. So that's why I was just curious about that. But that's good for the most part. You guys, it sounds like then you guys do make sure to try to include each other in everything, especially with you having a son. I feel like it's definitely key for her to keep you in the loop because there's going to come to a point where, not saying she can't handle it, but it's going to come to a point where every son's going to do that, where he's going to test his mom. And you're going to need dad to be like, hey, this is, nah, we're not doing that. Like, we're shutting this down, right? So that's good. That's good, man, that y'all got that. Y'all got that.
Oh yeah, but for the record though, there are different rules. My house, I operate in a certain manner. Bedtime this time, no phones during the school night. I definitely keep a very stricter uh, set at my house. Her place, she's a lot more lenient. But once again, if I have a request, she'll follow it for a week or whatever. But it is what it is. How she wants to run her house. I'm never going to tell her how to run her house. I'll just tell her how he's on punishment this week for not doing his homework, or telling us he did his homework and not turning it in. No phone for the week, school week or whatever. And honestly, if I feel like it's not going to get done, I was going to the phone and lock it myself or delete the apps or whatever off the phone myself. I got control over the phone. So it works out. But that's another piece of it as well, that he has a phone at 10 years old. Most kids don't have a phone at 10 years old. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's good, bro. That's good that and but that also makes sense too in the way just because women are more nurturing, right? They're more so, um, not I don't want to say like uh what's the word? I'm trying to think of saying it without. Basically, they're just. I'll just say more nurturing. I don't want to. I don't want to offend the moms that might be listening, but more nurturing. So they're gonna get more leeway. There you go. They'll get more leeway. Right? Where as
yeah.
fathers, especially when we're raising young men, we're going to teach them discipline. We're going to teach them structure. We're going to, not saying that moms can't do that, but it's going to look different coming from a father. So by you saying that you have certain rules and this is how you do certain things, to me that makes sense, right? Because you want to make sure that he's able to one day, he's 10 right now, but one day to be able to handle the different obstacles and be able to hold himself accountable in certain situations, right? Because I feel like a lot of the new generation, especially for young men out there, it's difficult to be accountable. Nobody wants to be accountable right now, and so as fathers, we have to make sure we instill that into our sons, our kids in general, but especially our sons.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We got to lead by example, and like you said, the new generation, they're not being raised the same way that we were. You guys have mentioned this before. In a lot of your other episodes, we used to go outside. Kids today don't go outside unless they're really pushed to go outside. But at the
Yeah,
same time, it ain't safe for them to go outside like it used to be. Whether that's the trouble on the street, or just adults that have bad intentions, just things like that. Like, we got to protect our kids a lot more than what we were back then, because we had that. But at the same time, I'm sure our parents worried about them things too. The only difference was it was a different magnitude. So it's an evolved state of it right now, and that's why, like you said, as men, we got to make sure our kids always got their head on the swivel. Our boys, do the right thing and protect, but at the same time, grow, grow and learn, within the system as well. So yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I just want to throw it out there too. I salute you, man. You are doing an awesome job with yours. So I love hearing about it from the married standpoint. But at the end of the day, dads, we're all dads, right? So we all got to keep it moving in the right direction together. So I'm with you.
No, appreciate it, bro. That's real, man. That's real. I want to ask you as well. So I want to say, because you're, like you said, your situation is very unique, and I'll be honest, I have not really seen it work as well as it's worked for you. Besides, I should say this, I haven't seen it in the black culture work like this. I've seen it in other cultures work, right, where they can have an understanding, where they can be mature enough. So my question to you, why do you think that is? Why do you think a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times in our culture, I don't even want to say black culture, because in the Hispanic culture too it happens, or I should say minority culture. Then why do you think that it can't be an easy conversation? It can't be, hey, let's just have a joint conversation, or a joint custody. Sorry, have joint custody and have a real conversation to do what's best for our child, and come up with a game plan that makes sense for all of us.
Man, that's a great question. I mean, my first initial thought to answer that is emotions are at play
Mm,
here. I mean, we're both adults, and especially if there's a relationship that was had here. If you guys split up, because you guys just weren't getting along, you guys knew it, you guys knew the road it ran its course, but you guys still have respect for each other. This is a very big possibility, but most of the time that's just not what happens. Most of the time somebody's still feeling a certain way about somebody, um, or if they're not in love or want to be with that person, they can't just stand and despise that person for breaking their heart and hurting them, whether they were cheating, or they did something they shouldn't have done, or they felt like they missed out on their dreams and goals because they were constantly trying to support and help this other person. There's a lot of reasons, but like I said, for me, I feel like it's tied more to emotion. That they think about themselves still, even though they're saying the thing about the child. Hey, I'm not going to let him see his child because X, Y, Z, or him. Hey, I don't want to be around the child because then I got to see her, or I want to get my child back because she was running the streets. She's a stripper. My ex is not, by the way, but yeah, where people want to get into their own personal thoughts and feelings on it, and I think that really ruins the opportunity for the child to grow up with both parents, in an equal setting. And at the same time, I think that's why it doesn't work out very well in ours, because we also don't talk enough. We don't talk to
mm,
each other. Like, me personally, I consulted quite a bit of friends and family about this as it was happening. I did talk to my mom, who raised me as a single parent. I talked to my father, who I really had no type of growing up with at all whatsoever in life. But I did talk to him. I asked him what he would do differently if he could, how he views the situation. At the end of the day, I'm my own man. I don't got to take anybody's word as law and do what they said to do. I take it in, I listen, and I gauge it from my own situation. um, Her situation as well, how she grew up and how she lived, is very different than mine. So we're from two different worlds, two different dynamics, but at the same time it did take a lot of time. And because she knows how much our son means to me, and I know how much he means to her, it was more like okay, I'm not going to take this from you. We're going to work together though to make sure we both get what we need and what we want. So at the end of the day, this is how it ends or ended with us. But yeah, I do believe it's more emotionally driven for why couples that split don't work out, or even like I said, one night stands. Those are the same boat, man. Like, hey, he was really into her one night stand, all of a sudden she disappeared, or vice versa. She really liked this guy, he played her or whatever. Now all of a sudden she's gonna stick it to him. It's a
Mm.
lot of things that are like that, like I said, where people make those decisions not because the person can't take care of the child. Now there are those, but for me, if a man wants to be in his child's life, he should be in his child's life. You should not hold him back from that. And if you have to keep it at within parameters of what he can do and what he can't do, that's fine. Or if, the way around, maybe the mom is just not stable, but she wants to be in her child's life. We shouldn't be holding our kids back. We only penalize and hurt our kids when we do that. And that's the last thing I need to see my son is emotionally beat. I'm cool. I'm going to take care of
Yeah.
mine, like I said, and do what I got to do. But yeah, it's the short answer, drawn out emotionally driven is why I feel it does not work in our community, and just really in cultures in general that are colored folks and things like that.
I, I like that, and what came to mind when you said that actually too, um, I think as well in our culture is like what you said, like you was raised in a single household by your mother, right? I'm assuming you and your dad somewhat talk now, but growing up he wasn't really around like that, right? It sounds like.
I talk to my dad probably maybe once every other week or so. Actually, that's where we took our trip to, though. My son and I was to Maryland to go spend a week with my dad over the summer,
That's
so it was
dope.
dope. That was a good time. But yeah, we don't. We I did not talk to him. I didn't talk to my dad until I turned 21. So I had
Damn.
no childhood with my dad whatsoever. But I had an amazing
Mm,
grandfather. You know what I'm saying? That was
yeah.
there across the board. But yeah, to let you finish, I did. That's pretty much how that went down. I didn't talk to my dad at all growing up. I do talk to him on a whim more so now.
So that made me think of in the black community and like I said the Hispanic community too that I know of, but right is like it still ties to emotion, but also when it doesn't work out, like maybe from the mother's point of view, if she wasn't raised with her dad, now she's pissed off because there's some, it's like oh the cycle is repeating itself, right? Or same thing where maybe
Hmm.
the father or the new father now he became a father, but he's like she's tripping, she's acting like this, acting like that. Man, I remember my dad gets dipped, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna do the same thing, right? And so it's like a pattern that we might not even realize as well in our community, right? And so it makes it that much more difficult. So we can't just have, like you said, we can't just have a real conversation. We can't just sit down and talk these things out. Hey, you know what? Yeah, you don't want to be me. Okay, dang, that sucks. I'm hurt. But at the same time, instead of me feeling like, oh man, now I'm a baby mama, now I'm a baby daddy, whatever the case is. Okay, it is what it is. That's the decision or that's the situation now. What can we do? What can we do that's best for our child? But it also makes me think of what I've said in previous episodes. Is like we also as men, we have to be more picky with who we have a family with, right? We have to be more
Yep.
selective because yeah, that girl looks really good, and she whatever, she was a dancer, this and this and this, but you knew she was kind of crazy, or she had that attitude, but you thought it was cute, you thought it was funny, right? You knew she was about money before you was with her, right? Or before you had a child with her, I should say, right? Then you have a child, and now you upset because she's trying to take you to court to juice you for as much money as possible, right? And so, yeah, man. So it's crazy, bro. It's definitely crazy, but that's what came to mind. That's what came to mind when you said that as well. And I know I've had you here for a little while now, but I wanted to ask you just any type of advice, any type of encouragement that you can give to any fathers that's they're maybe dealing with that where they're trying to figure out, okay, do I have to go to court, or man, I'm having a baby, but the me and my lady's not me, or me and my ex lady's not seeing eye to eye. Like, what is there any type of advice, any type of gems you can just leave them with, man, before we get ready to close out?
Man, no, not just playing. Nah, real talk. My biggest thing I would say is put your child first. Absolutely, put them first. Put their well-being first. Um, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to stress the mom out. I understand you guys may not be working it out. You guys might be going through some things, but don't stress her. That's the last thing you need to do. If you think you're going to be exiting stage left for whatever reason, um, you need to make sure it's the right thing in your heart to do to make sure you are the better person for yourself. And when I say that, it's because our kids need the best version of us. So if staying is not going to make you a better parent or a better person, a better human, you don't need to be staying. But you also need to make sure that you're doing everything for the exact right reasons, not for the selfish reasons. But that's really my biggest take. If I had to say anybody, I mean, for me, like I said, this getting to this point, what's to better myself? And I feel like after this last, bit of time that I've been separated from her entirely, that I am a way better person. I'm happier. I actually sleep a lot more. I'm way more energetic. I'm way more interactive with things. I wake up in the morning ready to rock and roll. Like I said, I was always a disciplined person, but I hold myself a lot more accountable to it now. Um, I mean, I had times where I used to go home and dread coming home. So that's one thing you don't want. If you get to that point, you gotta take care of your mental health first. But keep in mind that your child comes first. So that's my gem. If I had to drop one for you, is that it'll
Yeah,
work itself out. Be respectful, but make sure you're doing what you got to do for that child's benefit and well-being. And one more thing I wanted to put back on, because you said it, that you said it before in the episode, you gotta really consider who you're laying down with. I understand that, sleeping around is fun and good and it feels good and all that stuff. Yeah, but if you're not ready for the responsibility, then you shouldn't be doing the actions. And we all know that. You know what I'm saying? We're grown. We know we've taken sex ed class. We've seen the end results. I'm sure we all got a friend out there that's in a relationship or somebody. You know, they got to learn. We all got to learn to
yeah,
get it together. And that's why married men and the married families that are happy and in love, hey, I once again salute you guys for finding your partner. And I know that not every day has been the greatest of days. You can say it all you want, but we already know how it goes. But I salute you guys, because it takes a lot of giving yourself up, and that's really what you need to do, because your partner's going to give themselves too. And as long as you guys can make it right for the kids, don't stay because of the kids, but make sure you use your best self for the kids. So that's
yeah.
my gem for it, my
I like that, man. No, I like that, man. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time, man. And like always, guys, definitely. I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have. But like always, guys, please share, please like, please subscribe, tell a friend. And yeah, you guys should know by now, right? You don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. See you guys on the next one.
man. Hey.